Christian parenting.
Are you struggling to balance your modern life and your faith? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Legacy Dads Podcast with Lance and Dante, offering biblical-based wisdom and that weekly dose of what truly works in men's lives. The Legacy Dads Podcast, real men, authentic faith. Here are your hosts of the Legacy Dads Podcast. They're authentic, transparent, and not always politically correct. Lance and Dante.
Hey everybody, welcome to Legacy Dads. My name is Lance, and hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and had whatever you're doing, social distancing, Zoom Thanksgiving, whatever that may be, whatever that looks like for your family. Hope it was great, wonderful for you. And I'm always, as always, joined with my partner, Dante. What's up, my brother?
Yeah, we canceled everything, man. I mean, between quarantine and, testing and schools and all that, we gave it to fear. So we just did family only. And I had to eat a 25-pound turkey by myself.
Well, we made sure what we did is we quarantined our turkey for 14 days prior to eating it. So yeah, I think it
was safe.
And it was wearing a mask when we cooked it. So I think it's all in compliance, and we should.
Did you remove the government transmitter out? When it pops up, you don't want the government to know that you're transmitting.
We forgot to do that.
You left that in there, Lance.
We probably ate
rookie mistake.
RFID all inside of me now. So, hey guys, Legacy Dads is your weekly dose of biblical manhood. Sometimes this podcast is for men, husbands, and fathers in all stages of life, where we promote and advocate proven biblical principles for leaving a lasting legacy. So you guys basically just did the old Thanksgiving by yourselves, huh?
Yeah, in-laws are a little freaked out, but there's some concerns. And then we had a sister-in-law and sister and brother-in-law, and one of the college kids had a couple roommates that were positive. So, it's just there was just too much going on, and the last thing that anyone wanted us to do is put mom-in-law, dad-in-law in the hospital. So we have to respect that. Normally we have 15 to 20, or actually it used to be 20 to 30, and then people started dying off. So then we were down to 15 to 20. Last year I think we were at 11. So than that,
So what's the Italian wine math for a party of 20 or 30? I just want to.
Well, you figure like one bottle is 2 glasses per person. And like in that mix, there's maybe 4 to 5 of us that are wine drinkers. So you got to do a multiplier of like 4. So, 5 times, 4, 20 bottles.
Yeah. Okay,
no, I'm just
sense.
kidding.
No.
We didn't drink 20 bottles, but
hey,
20 glasses. So about 5 bottles.
Do you guys do any do you have any like crazy dishes or anything like that you guys do for Thanksgiving that nobody else does?
We're just old school, bring on the turkey. A couple really good, Paisan friends of mine, they flip and go, all the way out. I mean, you're talking like they do a beef tenderloin.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They usually do a whole plethora of pasta. And then they got some side dishes, and on top of that, they'll even like deep fry a turkey. Mm-hmm. So if you go to one of those things, I think I've been to like maybe a couple over, the last 20 years. Just be prepared to like fast for 3 days afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Because that'll be about the time your appetite finally comes back.
Yeah, I gotcha. We do the old. What's funny because our daughter this year, our son can't go anywhere because of the pandemic, but so our daughter wanted to do a ham as well. So we decided we're not going to do a full turkey. We're doing like a turkey and a ham, like a smaller portion of that, and then
a little smorgasbord. I like it.
Yeah, and then I don't know why we do this thing. My wife makes this. It's like creamed corn. That I don't know if that's like anybody else does that or not. It's just something that my wife's family, it's like a traditional thing. And it's like, it's super unhealthy, but it's amazing. It's like,
it's Thanksgiving, man. The one time of the year, you just got to be thankful. You don't start counting calories that day.
No. Yeah. And then we got to do some pies. We got to do pumpkin pie and pecan pie and all that.
So are you a pumpkin pie or so you said pumpkin pecan? Do you guys do apple or anything like that or no?
Well, so my daughter was funny. My daughter was like, hey, let's go pick apples and do an apple pie. So, I don't know. We might try doing that as well, but I'm a pumpkin pie guy. Every once in a while I'll do pecan if you like smother it in whipped cream or something like that. But yeah,
I'm pretty simple. For me, it's either pumpkin, apple, or strawberry rhubarb. Any three of those combos, you got me.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about something a little bit different today, guys. As it's moving in, we move from Thanksgiving into the holiday season. We want to talk about something that we're kind of I'm excited about it for 2021, something that Legacy Dads wants to get behind. And we're asking you guys to partner with us. We're asking you guys to become and be a part of this. And actually, we're trying to find ways in 2021 to just build the Legacy Dads community and actually, find ways that we can do things together. And you're going to be seeing that throughout 2021 is more ways that we're getting together and doing things. So what we're going to talk a little bit about today is an opportunity that came up, and this is in the country of Malawi. And did you know where Malawi was at all, Dante?
I live with Trey. I mean, I've got the geography boy of the world that can name any country, any capital, all out there. So it's exciting. But what's really funny, Lance, before you get into this, I mean, we were looking, 3 or 4 years ago, just doing some vision planning and all that, and just looking at, what your contract was, where you're at. At that point, I think we were thinking another 6 years before we ever thought about entertaining, full-time ministry. And I just got to say, God's got one sense of humor, because here you are in a lot less time than that. You're going into full retirement, from your stellar career. And now it's, all of these ministry opportunities are throwing themselves at you. And it's just, as we pray and fast and discern, just looking, with you and Jen and decision on that. But what's the best course for you? It's amazing. And I think, why we're bringing Malawi here to our listeners is this is one that really resonates with you in multiple facets.
Yeah, it's a really unique opportunity. I'm excited to talk about this, and I'll give you guys a little bit of background. So, I honestly I've heard of the country Malawi. I've been in that part of the world, but I've never actually stepped foot in that country. But truth be told, for you guys that don't know, so Malawi is a country in Africa, and it remains one of the poorest countries in the world, despite making significant economic and structural reforms to sustain their economic growth. So the economy is heavily dependent upon agriculture, and that employs, nearly probably about 80% of the population. So, just like our farmers here in the United States and elsewhere, those are vulnerable to droughts, to, bad crops, insects, all sorts of different things, particularly climate shocks and things like that in that part of the country can really have a huge impact on their economy and on their people. And I believe Malawi's known as, they call it the heart. Is it the warm heart? That's what it is. The warm heart of Africa. Because, even though this is one of the poorest countries, the people are just so positive and so friendly. And, funny thing is, predominantly there's a lot of Christians there as well. And so Dante, one of the things that we ran into is, I met up with some people through different ministries, and I didn't know this, but one of the largest unmet disabilities and needs is poor vision, meaning that, you've got people around the world who, either because of old age or cataracts or disease or anything, they need adequate eyewear or eyeglasses. So one of the things Legacy Dads decided to do is we're going to do something about this to help a global pandemic. So I ran into a group of guys who worked with Johns Hopkins University and some other organizations, and they basically developed it's a field eyeglass kit. So you imagine the thing, if you wear glasses or contacts and you go to the optometrist and they have that, they still use that swingy arm thing do you still get that when you get yours, Dante?
Yeah, and then they do the eye check. You're looking at the farm.
That's
and
1800s technology that we're still...
Yeah, they blow air into your eyes, and then you can't see for an hour or something like that. Yeah,
that's new though. I'm talking the old school binocular. It's like you're in a submarine and they put that thing in front of you, and then he flips the eye, flips the glasses, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, that's got to be at least 100 years old, but that's still kind of the standard of what they're using. But, anyways, so. What these guys did is they developed that, but imagine that in a a small portable thing that you could throw into a backpack. Okay. And why is that important? Well, that's because what you can do that is you can take that out to a place like Malawi or a place, remote place where they don't have access to a healthcare. They may not even have a hospital nearby. And even if they, do have a hospital nearby, a lot of times there's no way to get transportation to get to those hospitals. So, this is a need that's not being met. And so these field eyeglass kits, basically what they can do is within a matter of about 5 minutes, they can figure out what somebody's, prescription is. And then they've got, basically a kit with like 500,000 different prescriptions. And they can give that person right there, boom, a set of eyeglasses. Now, it takes 5 minutes. And a buddy of mine I was talking to said they can do about 500 people a day, which is pretty amazing. So one of the things we really want to do for 2021 is we're going to focus on helping the people of Malawi. And not only do we want to provide eyeglasses, but there's a bigger thing here that Dante and I are going to talk about. And that's, this is becoming a way now that there's a local church there, and the church is working alongside one of the biggest United Nations refugee populations in Africa, people that were running away from war and persecution and atrocities and things like that. And the local church has been able to spread the gospel, and then while they're spreading the gospel, also buy farmland in order to feed more people. So to give this, I want to bring you in here, Dante, but to give you an idea. So this is not Lance or Dante doing this, but you'd have actual, church members in Malawi get trained on how to basically fit and provide the eyeglasses. And then what they do is they're selling these eyeglasses for like $5, which is a bargain, because what I was told is if somebody went to the capital city to get eyeglasses, if they had the means to do that, it costs about $100. So $5 is still a steal for for getting people eyeglasses. But what they're doing is rather than giving a handout, they're charging a little bit of money, so $5. And then with that $5, the church and the people there are able to go and buy land for things like sustainable farming, and they're providing micro business opportunities that help the local economy and provide stability for families. Now, this is a big thing, Dante, and I want to bring you in here and talk about this. This is different, and I think we've talked about this before in one of our podcasts on poverty, but there's a big difference between giving somebody a handout and empowering somebody to make a living, an honest living for their family. And what would you say about that, Dante?
This is a two-pronged approach, which I absolutely love, because the ministry in itself is looking at it, from its global economic, and not just Malawi. This is the starting point, and this is where we're focusing on 2021, not biting off more that we can chew. But like you said, it's two-pronged. Number one, the economic advantage, for the local community. Number two, and it's just really exciting to us to be a part of that and partner in the gospel, is that because this is an effort that is focusing on the regional area of where the people are, it's allowing ministry, gospel-led ministry, to partner with major corporations, major government institutions, that because you're doing an economic benefit, they're not focusing on what some people might have a problem with as far as faith-based or organization as far as where this ministry is concerned. And so first and foremost, it's providing, the opportunity to share the gospel. Secondly, and I think one that we have to continue to focus on, is it's great to sit there and preach the good news and give the person a hope for the gospel of Jesus Christ. But what better way to leave with that hope than to give them an avenue or an opportunity that not only can they take this hope, but they can also have an economic advantageous ability to put bread on the table with their family. And it's not some evangelical from the United States, Midwest or Southwest that's coming down there and delivering it to them. It's actually ministry-based people that have professional experience that are training these people to have this benefit, to put food on the table. And economically, as we learn, as you start to free up societies and give them, hope into the future, all of a sudden you start promoting commerce. Commerce promotes democracy, but democracy promotes capitalism in a way that is healthy, not negative, but these ways that focus on people of actually caring about the local community and putting it in partnering with the gospel. And those two are where we see the world and the gospel meet into a way that is honoring God, honoring us, and honoring the people that we are benefiting in the process. That it's a win-win for all of those involved.
Yeah. And if you can imagine this, guys, I want to give you, so there's, when we're talking about, you talk about charity or Christian organizations, or even just economic development at a government level, like USAID or state, or a lot of these different organizations. So there's two different types of develop we like to talk about. So one is, and people are probably pretty familiar with this because this has been the Christian model for a long time, and that's called needs-based development. Now, what needs-based development is basically you go in and you look at people and you say, okay, what do they need? Do they need food? Do they need clothes? Do they need access to some, and then the model for a long time has been, let's just give it to those people. Okay. So here's the problem with this. The problem with that is that then people are now becoming reliant on a system, on that charity, that Christian missionary group that's over there to provide those things for them. And it's crazy, Dante, if there was a big study done, and when you ask people, when you think of poverty, what do you think of? And now those of us from the Western society, those of us that, let's be honest, we live in wealth compared to the rest of the world. When you ask a Westerner what's poverty, we define poverty as a lack of material goods. So you'll hear people say, well, they probably don't have a car, they don't have a house, they don't have food, they don't have clothing, whatever that may be. We for some reason, we've just been conditioned to think of poverty as a lack of a material thing. Okay. When you ask a person that lives in poverty, what do you define as poverty? What you hear from them is they say things like shame, hopelessness. What they're talking about is emotional things that they feel like I'm able, but I feel so much shame that I can't get myself out of this situation. I would love to work. I would love to put in an honest day's work and make an honest day's salary, but I feel like I can't do that in my current position. So for them, they don't consider it. It's not a lack of material goods. It's a lack of opportunity. It's a lack of, or maybe they're in an economic system or a government system that represses the people. But that's how they define that. So if we go in, if that's how they're defining themselves in poverty, and we as a Christian organization or a church or whatever you want to call it, if we go in and just give them handouts, all we're doing, and this is research-based evidence, all we're doing is we are essentially making them feel more hopeless and more shameful, like they can't do things for themselves. So in the last 10 or 15 years, a lot of Christian organizations have done really great work. You can go check out the Chambers Group has done a lot of research into this, that this model of charity or spreading the gospel, it does not have the outcome that we thought it would. Okay. And
it's like the old adage. It's like, I can give you a fish and
Yes.
feed you for a day.
Yes.
Or I can teach you how to fish and have you eat for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And I love where you're going with this, Lance.
Yeah. And so what we're trying to do, what this ministry is trying to do, is what we call asset-based development. And the difference between needs-based development and asset-based development. So asset-based development would go in, and you go into each person, you knock on their house and you say, hey, what gifts has God given you? What gifts do you have? What specialties do you have? What experience or background do you have? And you know what? You'll hear people say like, I'm a brick mason. I know how to I can make my own bricks, and then I can build houses out of those bricks. And you're like, okay, wow. And I got a guy that, hey, this guy does woodwork, or maybe this guy's a fisherman. And all of a sudden what you're doing is you're hearing people what gifts God has given these people to bring to the fight. And then through that asset-based development, what you can do is then you can say, hey, okay, let's bring our resources together and let's empower the people to help themselves. Okay. And so this is what we're talking about, Dante, is empowering people to create their own jobs and their own business instead of getting handouts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the asset-based development, or the asset-based community development, the ABCD, if you look at it that way, is looking at regionally, looking at a community, and realizing that everybody has gifts.
Yes.
You have to look at everybody. We're all equal at the foot of the cross, and nobody is better. Rich, poor. God doesn't sit there and say, okay, what did you take with you in the box? God looks at, what did you do with the stewardship that I gave you? And so realizing that the Spirit gives us gifts, everybody has gifts, relationships in that gifting, it builds a community. And then we see people interacting in what we would call, economically as commerce. Citizens are at the center of this community. Leaders involve others as active members of the community, and people start to care about something. So, versus taking a handout or feeling that you're not worthy or that people are looking down on me, now all of a sudden you're saying, no, I have value in you, because the better that I look at my community, think of the Church of Acts, if we all come together and we do this together, that we're all in the common good of what honors the gospel of Jesus Christ, then we work together. And then it gives people, and it gives these communities in these regions the motivation to act. People now all of a sudden are caring about their neighbor because they're in relationship. Now all of a sudden they have economic need, and they realize that, the more they put into this economic need, the more they get out of the return. It starts conversations. Maybe it even changes the way that governments react. And so I'm not just talking about capitalist governments. I'm talking about even in some of the most extreme communist governments, and not to name this here on this podcast, but we're seeing the advancement of some democracy, principles that benefit. So even some of these strictest governments are understanding the benefits of democracy, and they're allowing economic, prospering to be turned over to their citizens, and that allows the ask and the need to be met. And so, as I'm getting around about, Lance, now that we get the idea of what this is really entailing, what's next in your book? What's happening from here?
Yeah. So here's the really awesome thing is that, and I love that you brought up the Church of Acts, because that's what you're seeing in the churches in Malawi is they're becoming community centers where, hey, guess what? It's like I can go to the church and you know what? There's a guy looking that maybe a guy's looking to get some work done in his house, and then the brick guy, the brick mason, and the guy who's looking, they can get together and one helps the other out. The church is also becoming a place where people can go to get access to healthcare, access to mental health, access to things like midwifery services, and all these different things. So the church has really in Malawi is starting to become this almost like a community center where if you have a need, you can go to the church and somebody within the church body is able to fill that need. And it's the church body helping one another. And I think it's really amazing. So where are we trying to go to this? So I'm going to be going hopefully to Malawi, in 2021. I'm going to get my feet on the ground, and I want to see kind of, where we can help out and what we can do. I would like to, me personally, I would love to be able to take over, a 500,000 pair of glasses from Legacy Dad's listeners and give those out as a gift. And we're going to look at that, and hopefully I'm trying to see if my wife might be able to come with me. So a lot of these, the women that are in the refugee camps, obviously when you go through, some of them are coming from the Congo and the atrocities that happened there. And you have women that are experience, a lot of sexual trauma and just seeing horrible atrocities, from the wars and the conflict in that area. And what my wife is hopefully going to be able to do is also do some trauma counseling, but training actual women in the church, the Malawian women, to be able to also minister to other women, in the community. So again, it's going back to this empowering them to do things for themselves. So, we're going to go on the ground in Malawi later on in 2021, get an idea of what's going on and see how we can really help and what more we can do. Now, I'll tell you that the guy I'm working with, it's really pioneering this thing. He has, he's got a vision that God's really laid on his heart, and he's going after. Now, here's what's going on right now is the local church that's making these glasses right now have to be produced somewhere else overseas. They have to mold the plastic. They have to have the dye. They distribute, there's a distribution center set up somewhere that it's basically outsourced and made, and then they ship them to Malawi, or they ship them to the ministry, and they, bring these into Malawi. Now, what my partner's idea is what if we build our own distribution center or processing plant within, next to the church within this area. And so now what you're doing is they have access to the eyeglasses, but they're able to make the eyeglasses themselves. They can, give people jobs, give people, the ability to use, like we said, their gifts and talents in that area. And this, Malawi then may become a major distribution center for the region, for that area of Africa. Then they can be providing, eyeglasses to all different areas and other countries within that region. So this is pretty exciting. Now here's the thing on this, and I'll tell you guys, what we're doing is we're asking you guys for some support on this. We've never asked for anything from listeners before, but we really want to get behind this. And I want you to let you know this isn't going to Dante's Maserati fund or Lance's new I need some earbuds fund,
or retirement funds or anything like that.
What we're doing. Our goal is to give 110% of anything donated onto this ministry, okay, and to continue to replicate this. So once we're able to do this in Malawi, then we can start moving to other countries as well. And again, we're not only talking about creating this economic, fixing a need with the eyeglasses and creating economic sufficiency for the people, but spreading the gospel as well. And that's the other side of this, is that evangelism piece. This creates opportunities. And like you said, Dante, it allows you to get into places where, for example, let's say you wanted to go into a closed country that's hostile to Christianity. If you try to go in there and say, hey, we're this ministry, we would really love to come in and we want to preach the gospel, the government's going to say, absolutely not. However, if you say, hey, we would like to come in and provide a health service need, those countries will say, absolutely, come on in. So this is a way to get in and spread the gospel, in a way into close countries, into places that normally would not allow Christian organizations to get in and work. So we're really excited about this. So, you want to add anything else on that, Dante?
Yeah, and the fact that, you're even citing refugee camps that, through this ministry and this opportunity for economic advancement and for hope, and especially for the gospel, when does evil prosper, Lance? Evil prospers when good men do nothing.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I love that your partner in this ministry is suggesting not only, what the immediate need is and an immediate benefit to giving the locals and the refugees their hope, but it's also giving them a vision into what the future can look like. And the fact that there's already a place that advances jobs in the idea that you can create, I'm just thinking out loud and just kind of spitballing here. And the sense is, we're looking at this from where Lance or his partner in this ministry could start going to other countries, other towns, other communities. But, take it a step further is if you start planting the seeds of growth and hope, amongst Africans or amongst others, in different regions of the world, now all of a sudden, versus, you or I going down there, Lance, and sharing our heart. Imagine if a local, from there or for a refugee camp started training others to do exactly what you've done and start going locally, speaking in native tongues, speaking in distant families and all that, and just how fast that would spread. So, back to that twofold, prong approach is, number one, you're giving economic incentive for these people to promote a godly and honoring growth, but two, you're also promoting the willingness to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And through all of that, you're giving the benefit of both belief and also hope wrapped into a package called just coming out and really investing in the local community.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are we asking from you guys? Here's what we're not asking you for a lot. Okay. Here's what we're saying. If you've gotten any value, if you've learned anything, if Legacy Dads, if these podcasts or the the blogs or any of this stuff has helped you out in your walk with Christ, in your marriage, or with your parenting, we're asking you guys, you can go over to the website and we'll put it down in the show notes too here. And we're going to have a link in there. It's called Buy Us a Cup of Coffee. Okay. And so what we're asking is, through there that we're going to have kind of different tiers of monthly donations you can do. One's $5, one's $10, one's $15. Okay. Not a lot. So it's essentially a cup of coffee per month or a couple, 2-3 cups of coffee per month. If you want to just, you'd rather just, if you got $100,000 laying around and you'd rather just, sign that check over, give me a call and we'll fly you out and we'll do a live podcast with you, giving us that $100,000 check. But
and I'm being really serious about that too, Lance. I mean, we're saying that we're making light of it, but I know given the magnitude of the listeners that we have, some have been given much, and to much has been given much as expected. So if you're prayerfully looking in the the world of COVID and everything else going on, where can I have a ministry impact, for God's kingdom, not my own, that I've been given more and much more than I ever deserve, and make a difference. And so Lance and I have some homework, we're in the process of making sure that, we're giving you full access and completing a 501(c) for you guys. As he said, the pass through will go directly to the ministry that you are. And so depending on the level of your commitment, whether it's, buying us a cup of coffee, a $5 shout out on the podcast, social media, whether it's $10, exclusively content each month, ebooks and et cetera, we go to the 15. But if you've been given, resources, production, gifting in the sense that, hey, I can not only set you up with seed money and investors into that, not looking for major return, but looking for kingdom return, and that they would be willing to commit resources. We're really serious about this. And so, this is to tug at your heart. Not to, sit there and say, what, has Dante done? What has Lance done? What has Legacy Dad listener done? But it's okay. I've been given these resources. I know I don't deserve these resources, but because of those who've come before me, or because of God's grace and goodness, I'm able to extend these gifts that I've been given on to others. So if you've been looking for something, if you've been praying about ministry opportunities, this is an ask. This is not only an ask, this is a need. We feel very convicted in this, and we believe that somebody out there has that ability, and prayerfully, talk to your wife, talk to your spouse, talk to your board, whoever you are listening, and say, is this something that, confirms, our prayer, our fasting, and our vision that we want to commit to? And, we're being really serious about this. And we know that we have all different levels out there, and I don't want to minimize the $5 giver. I don't want to maximize, the $100,000 giver, but even more resources than that, tactical production facility, just, being able to put concrete on the ground, in these aspects that we're looking to. We're really serious. And, if you want to reach out to us to take it to that next level, that next level of commitment, shoot Lance, myself an email. Obviously we'll put you in contact with a ministry partner and make sure that, it's one-to-one, that not only will you be credited for that donation, but also that we know, and you can verify that this is a direct pass through to the ministry that we're talking about. And so our ask, our need is prayerfully consider. If you've been given resources that you've been looking for to go with it, could this be, might this be, we ask you to lean on prayer and fasting and wisdom around you. And if you feel compelled or led or just been waiting for this opportunity, we're excited to extend our hand outward, look at it upward, and just say, thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness, because it never continues to give. And so that's our challenge to you listeners. Lance and I have been doing this, way back when, since 2007. You've never heard us ask for money. You've never heard us ask for resources or gifting. This is something that, after this tumultuous year that we've seen in many different ways that Lance and I will continue to unfold through the year, we feel very compelled of putting, rubber to where it meets the road, and to really having kingdom effect, not only locally, but internationally, not only internationally, but kingdom giving, in the sense that, you're laying treasure up for yourself in heaven. And the words that I want to hear, the words that Lance wants to hear, and the words that we want you to hear is, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And this is one of those ways that we know that kingdom impact, gospel impact is getting done, and is getting done in mighty and really, I can't really share as far as getting into the details, as far as opportunity economically, partnering with economically, but we're excited to how this is just unfolding and how you can be a part of that. So serious inquiries, get back to us.
Yeah. And one of the reasons we're kind of being, we're being kind of, quiet about this is because because of the thing I talked about, where this organization is allowed to get into places because because of the healthcare aspect that they're providing, but we don't want to get them denied from certain countries or things like that, because they are they do have an evangelical ministry arm to this. So let me tell you guys what we're talking about here really quick. So, and explain how this works. So you go over to the website, or you see in the show notes, you're going to see something that says buy us a cup of coffee, right? So here's what it is. If you're willing to give us, $5 a month, not very much, $5 a month. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a shout out on the podcast, on social media. You're going to get, exclusive access to some of our community stuff, and then also exclusive invites to some of the community Legacy Dad events we're doing. Okay. If you're willing to do, $10 a month, again, we're going to give you exclusive content each month. What we're probably going to do is we're going to do a podcast that's going to be only to the exclusive members, where we can talk a little bit more freely. I'm sure everybody's been hearing about all the censorship stuff going on. So there's certain things we can't say necessarily in public, but we can talk about those, in a private group, and not on the public. We're also going to give you a free ebook on how to create effective discipleship for men, or for your men's ministry, or it works really well for yourself as well if you want to use that. That's at the $10 level. And then if you're willing to commit to $15 a month, you'll get all of the above, plus monthly live events. We're going to do some live events with Q&A with me and Dante. And we can also, through these live events, be able to reach out. And if you've got, if you guys are struggling with specific areas or specific, parenting or marriage or just walking with Christ things, these will be the avenues where Dante and I can specifically work with you almost on a one-on-one basis, and provide some information. And if we can't help you, we're going to bring in some special guests to these as well, that'll be able to give you some really great teaching and things like that. So that's it, guys. $5, $10, $15 a month. Now here's the thing, and you may hear that and you say well, $10 a month or $15 a month, that's nothing. Well, you could say that, but if we can get 100 people to give $10 a month, okay, that's, $1,000 a month. That means every single month we could send basically a kit of 500 eyeglasses over to the church in Malawi to be able to help them out. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. I mean, $10 maybe not very much, but when you compound that by 100 people or 150 listeners or whoever it may, whoever feels compelled to be able to help us with that, we can be able to almost provide a monthly, a monthly resources for the church over there. And then what I'm hoping to do as well is we're going to give you some updates for those of you that are helping us with this, along with the monthly live events and the Q&A. We're going to do some live stuff while I'm overseas in Malawi. You can, get to see and see where this money's going and what it's doing, and meet some of the local people there. So that'll be, at some of the, at the $15 level, we'll be able to do that. But this is what we're asking for you guys. And again, this is hard for Dante and I. I've never ask for money for ministry before. It's a pride thing for me. I feel like, that it's one of those things that, hey, God has blessed me, and God has, blessed me in so many ways that it's my duty to give back. But I'm realizing now that, if 100 of us guys on Legacy Dads can work together, we can do a lot more than just what Lance and Dante can do on our own. And I'll turn it over to you, Dante, for some final words, and we can sign off on this.
Yeah, I mean, we're humbled and we're honored that you guys believe in us, believe in our podcast. I mean, we look at the downloads per month. We look at the members that we have on subscription, 70, 80,000 of you listeners and just involved in our ministry. And it's one of these things where, as we say before, we're two jerks on a journey. And we're just trying to be faithful, with our wives, with our families. Lance is in a different, state that I am. I've got a young family that's still finishing school. Lance and Jen are an opportunity where they're going to be traveling and they're going to be doing ministry. And they're at such a time as this, they're put into that where they're partnering. And, we're excited. I mean, God's timeline was much different than our timeline.
Yeah.
And so we're trusting. And the thing about it is we just know that this is the next step. It's right. We just feel it. We're even working on logistics as far as where in Africa Lance is going to be able to record, how far.
If we're going to be able to do the podcast.
if we're going to be able to do the podcast. But it's also because, times that we're like, are we relevant? Does it make a difference? We get emails, private, Facebook groups, Zoom calls that we've had that we just sit back there and say, God, this isn't about Lance. This isn't about Dante. This is about you. And we just want to thank you. We're humbled the fact that you guys believe in us, that you partner with us, that you just care that we go deeper. And so this is one of those things where I'm just asking you, check yourself at the door, check our egos at the door, and really pray on this. And if you feel compelled, you feel that, yeah, this is such a time as this, or I've been waiting to put some, gifts that God's given me through his resources to use, and I'm going to do it through this. We're excited. And pray on it, fast on it, talk with your spouse, talk with your board. If you're really serious, we'll have that conversation with you. The other thing too is I want to say, Lance, we haven't really got into this, but there's a lot of things coming up, 2021, 2022, particularly as we move into different phases in our life, where we've learned through COVID, that we don't always have to be, boots on the ground into your church, into your business to be doing this. I mean, through Zoom calls, through Zoom conferences, Lance has done some breakfasts with some professionals and business leaders. These are resources that we can offer, especially on that tier. And, we're just excited because we know that as excited as we are, if you partner with us, you're serious about this. We know that this isn't for what we're doing. This is for God's glory, his kingdom. And we just want to challenge you. We just want to comfort, encourage, and urge you all to live a life worthy of Jesus Christ, and above all, to finish well. And these are one of these ways that we know that you will see immediate fruit and kingdom impact for the gospel going, not only locally, regionally, but internationally in a way that just builds God's kingdom.
Amen to that, brother. And hey, guys, we just want to say thank you so much for all you guys' support. This has been a rough year for everybody, I know, and it's been great. Just all the support and the people reaching out and the people we've got to talk to over this year has been really amazing for us, and we thank you guys for that. And I'll be honest, there's probably once a month I tell Dante, hey, let's just stop doing this. Why are we doing this thing anymore? Is anybody out there, do we really need to keep doing this? And it's you guys, the listeners, that keep me going. I know, when I want to quit and I want to give up and I just want to, put my time towards something else. It's you guys that keep us going and doing this thing. So we really appreciate that. And with that, guys, you can always head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. You can subscribe, leave us a great 5-star review. Hit us up on the Instagram or the closed Facebook group. Let us know what you think. Let us know, if this is something that interests you, or what, I'll be honest, if somebody's interested in actually going over and helping serve, and you have some, you want to use your time, your gifts, and your talents for stuff, we can definitely entertain that as well and see if we can make that happen. So let us know. We'd love to hear that. And with that, guys, We hope you have a blessed week. We're praying for you. We love you guys. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Legacy Dads Podcast with Lance and Dante. Real men, authentic faith. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit legacydads.org and on Facebook.com/LegacyDads and on Twitter @Legacy_Dad. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Legacy Dads Podcast. Real men, authentic faith.